Reuter, who, for that same area, from Orange to Victoria, is the mission and ministry facilitator for the Texas District Area D. John?
Thanks, Ralph. And let me add my words of welcome to all of you and affirm what Pastor Hobroth said about our hope that this is the first of many gatherings of people who are interested in prison ministry in Area D of the Texas District, and indeed farther beyond in the Texas District of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. I am the mission and ministry facilitator, as Pastor Hobroth said, for this area, and it's also my pleasure to bring you special greetings on behalf of President Kieschnick. I used to work for him. President Hennings, who is the president of the Texas District, who would have been delighted to be here today, but he's detained doing something else this day. Indeed, I did used to work for President Kieschnick of the who was president of the Senate from 2001 to 2010, and it was an honor to work for the president of the Senate, certainly. And I learned a lot of things from President Kieschnick. And one of the things I learned was sort of illustrated by two of the wall hangings that he had on the wall of his office. One hanging on one side of one of the doors entering the president's office when we were in St. Louis, and one on the other side. One I called the sublime hanging, and one I called the ridiculous hanging. The sublime hanging was a box, hermetically sealed, perhaps, I don't know, containing the pectoral cross worn by C.F.W. Walther, who is the first president of the Lutheran Church of Missouri Synod, right? I'm like, wow. You know, whenever I would walk past that box, I'm kind of like, holy cow. Yeah, this was the very pectoral cross worn by the first president of the Synod, and there it was, hanging right there. I could almost have touched it if it weren't in that box, you know? And on the other side was what I called the ridiculous hanging. It was a large picture of a man in full clerical regalia, all right? You know, robe and stole and cross and all that stuff, on an outside stage on an obviously windy day. You can tell it's windy because there are banners that are blowing, and the regalia that he's wearing is blowing, and his hair is blowing, and there are musicians there with music, you know, that's obviously blowing in the wind. And the guy in full clerical regalia is kneeling down on this outside stage, hanging on to music for a trumpeter, and obviously this music would be blowing away were he not hanging on to that music. Who do you suppose that guy was?
Luther.
Who? Luther. Luther? Nice try.
Ozzy.
It was Jerry Kieschnick. It was Jerry Kieschnick at the dedication of the new district office building for the California, Nevada, Hawaii district in about 2003 or so. Now, I don't pretend that any of us in St. Louis at that time, even and including, and perhaps especially in the president's office, had the whole idea of servant leadership figured out perfectly. However, I always thought that that picture was a marvelous illustration of just a bit of what servant leadership was about. The president of Synod, you know, with the full dignity of his office, kneeling down on an outside stage, hanging on to music for a trumpet. Just a bit of an illustration. And you know, we see those illustrations of servant leadership throughout Holy Scripture. I've got a story that I want to share with you today. I'm going to read